So yeah, if anyone feels like having a beautiful rakia from Serbia, Igor just brought 2 bottles, and I have to say, pretty good stuff. Goes down pretty well, smooth, and nice finishing. The body is a bit complex. Yeah, and in case you're freezing, that was me ordering this beautiful production team to turn on the air condition because I start sweating. This is also why I brought my towels, not to do any other stuff. Oh, this is on video, but okay. So yeah, I didn't know what to do, so I had to start this talk. So I thought I'm gonna throw my Bulgarian. Oh wait, that's Božida's residency card. That's me. So I have a Bulgarian residency. Actually, I also learned that you have to black out your Bulgarian. I don't know what is it called, like national number or something, because you can get loans with that number. I'm not going to talk about why I have this card, and I'm not going to tell you why I have a Bulgarian driver license. You can ask me later at the... I told this story like 15 times already. You could ask me at the after party. I think the after party, is there anything planned? Because I was suggesting that we all meet at Canal, which is a craft beer bar, and we can get like drunk and stuff like that. It's Saturday, come on. Okay, so if you want an amazing photo of you, get Bulgarian residency, because they take this photo at the agency. So I sat down, talked to her. I mean, I didn't talk, I don't speak Bulgarian. She was like, la 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 la, da da da. And then she pulls out this camera and like takes a photo of you. Dobre. And I asked her like, JPEG, email. So yeah, I don't know, like was really amazing. Like you go to an agency and they take like this photo of you. I use it everywhere because I look better than now, and it's like 7 years older, but they are amazing. Get Bulgarian residency. Okay, so there have been amazing talks. Like I really loved all of them. I had great inspirations, especially from the open source developer talks. I also had really good talks with attendees, so I feel energized and to go back and work on open source. Actually, I do not. So, sorry, so there's actually Elton John supposed to be playing I'm Still Standing, because I'm also an open source developer, and as a professional speaker, I wouldn't even think of playing audio live in a conference talk, just to find out that we have this most professional production team ever. They have Wi-Fi that is working, and they have audio that is working. So yeah, you never stop learning. In this talk, I will do some kind of chronological journey through my career. Actually, preparing this talk felt like psychotherapy because I went through lots of old folders of images. I mean, don't get your expectations too high. This talk is... I started preparing weeks ago, and then I discovered that I should finish it, and then I was drunk for the last 4 days, so whatever. But preparing this talk on the long term was beautiful because it really felt like going through your GitHub repos and finding out like, when did I start this? What did I do here? It was great. So it kind of like had this effect of like psychoanalysis on me, which is not, doesn't mean it's positive. Yeah, it can also have negative effects. Sometimes I felt upset, and yeah, so we'll figure that out during the talk. Here it is. So, as you might have worked out, I do open source. So, my mom, she's a really smart person, but she really thinks I'm this badass keynote speaker going to like huge audience. I mean, we have 2 levels. This is kind of cool. But you know, like the dollar bills raining down. It's like, yeah, this is cool. But that's kind of what she perceives what open source developers do. My friends only see, you know, the party pictures on Facebook and TikTok. Does anyone use? So they only see like, oh, you were in, I don't know, Norway or something. I have never been to Norway, just an example. So they kind of have this perception that open source conference speaking means you are constantly partying. Okay, I'm better story. Which, I mean, what they don't understand is like, yo, there's like lots of preparation, and you need to do slides, and you need to, I don't know, work on something that you can actually present. That's also nice to have a topic to talk about. And my fellow workmates and nerd friends, as I call them, they kind of think open source developer means you're only maintaining a project. Yeah, you're just like going through GitHub, pull requests, and like a Bojida, you know, what do you do with Rubicop? You just click merge. Do you squat the commits or do you merge the whole history? That's the question. So that's actually totally not what is happening in my case. I don't have a lot of pull requests, and if I have pull requests, it usually means that I have to go to psychotherapy afterwards. So actually what my life in reality looks like, I'll make this a bit bigger, is this. And I mean, I didn't know this is kind of crazy because this is how I work. So when I hit Control Tab and I want to switch between Sublime windows, this happens. And so it happened twice already in workshops that people started laughing when this came up. For me, this is completely normal. And this kind of reminded me of a funny incident in school when. So I have a twin sister, and we went to the same high school and to the same class. And I think on the day we were sitting next to each other, and it was like geography lesson or something. And in the next room, some contractor started drilling a hole in a concrete wall. And it's like, and everyone started laughing in the room, except for the two of us. We were looking at each other like, what's so funny? Because we grew up on a construction site for like 14 years. I didn't have a room. I didn't know where the kitchen is on the next day. And drilling on Saturday morning or Sunday morning was kind of normal for me. And that's kind of when I realized, and this is kind of the same nerves got triggered when people started laughing 5 days ago at my talk in Ruby Banitza, or 3 days ago. Like I was switching windows and they started laughing. But this is literally what my open source life looks like. And these are all, Sublime windows for different projects, and it's completely, I mean, I have like 5,000 to do, and this to do, and to do 5, and to do 7. So I'm constantly opening new documents, what I want to do, or plans, or how to like phrase something in the documentation. And then there's like, I don't want to say billions, because you can see it's not billions, but there's like 40 or 50 gems I constantly have open. And as you can see, you probably have never heard of those gems, but we need them in Trailblazer because it's a kind of like an umbrella project that has a lot of different parts. And so you work on gem A, then you figure out, oh, I need to fix something in gem B and C and D. And it's like this rabbit hole that you never get out of. And yeah, so people talk about open source developers. This is literally probably my kind of problem. And we had in a couple of talks, we were already talking about getting to know other speakers and what kind of problems they have. You all learned about this XZ exploit. From a technical perspective, this was, I mean, you should, if you haven't heard about this, check it out on YouTube. There are like shows, 2 hours, how they explain how this exploit worked. From an engineering perspective, it's amazing, but it was only possible because they exploited an overworked person, yeah. And so we all the open source developers, as I learned in this talk, have their kind of vulnerabilities, yeah. So some people, poor people, might suffer from a physical depression. Some people might be overworked. Some people are lonesome. In my case, this is the problem. And I don't know if you realize how frustrating this is, because you all know the Sisyphus Greek metaphor. I constantly feel like I'm being chased. Yeah, so I don't know if I test my cortisol level or something, or I don't know how you find out stress. I think it's cortisol or something. It would probably be more than it should be, because you never have the feeling you finish something. And that's also the reason why I still have, Trailblazer context. I mean, I haven't worked in Trailblazer context for like 2 years, but it's still open because it might happen that I have to work in this gem and fix something or add some puts to debug some completely unrelated error. And so this is kind of what freaks me out in my open source life, is that I never feel like I finished something. Really frustrating. And there is also the social side of being an open source developer. So I mean, I just took some 3 quotes. What is this? So what's the most frustrating part next to being never finished is like, we don't have perfect documentation, for example. We don't have this kick-ass example app with thousands of different edge cases that we show how to handle, because it takes a lot of time to do that. And people keep asking for it. And I go through my Sublime windows, like, where's the to-do file to add that to 500 other items? Or they have really specific inquiries, like they want this, I don't forget about each macro and render, whatever, but it's kind of like there's this one person who wants this really specific change, and they will keep emailing you, they will keep, pushing, like +1 on GitHub or something, and it's like it's not every day, but it kind of drives me crazy because it's just so much work, and some of the work really is kind of specific to one person. Or the best I really love is when people threaten you in a nice way. Yeah, they will say, it's kind of cool what you guys do, but actually we feel like it's not being maintained in a sensible way or something like that. And we rather, I don't know, we do that in-house. So basically what they do is they copy everything from our gems and write it on themselves, which is okay. But it's kind of like they have to tell us, yeah? It's not like they just do it. They have to tell you like, oh, you provide free stuff and it doesn't work the way I want, and that's because you guys are lazy, so we're gonna do it ourselves, and I tell you now. It's really, I didn't jump behind a bus yet, but it's super frustrating. And people always kind of assume that it's like, yeah, just add some more documentation. It's not so hard. Add a nice add a nice example project, like something that shows all the edge cases. It's like, it's just done in like 5 minutes, no problem. It drives me nuts, really, because it is quite complex to run an open source project. What helps is work-life balance. The good thing is when you give the last talk, you can take revenge. So yeah, the only reason I'm here joking and like hey open source is because I think I kind of manage to have this. I hate the word open source. That too, work-life balance. So I don't know. I also like, for example, I work in a bar like 2 or 3 times a month. It's so fulfilling, really. You make people happy. You're friendly. You take care. They have a good night. You give them beer, and it's like, here's a beer, drink it, happy, money, done. Oh God, I love it so much. So it's kind of probably my main mechanism. It's also related to alcohol. Damn. Oh, speaking of, cheers. If anyone wants, get a glass. We have plenty of this. Pożyda? Here we go. I'll stop for 5 minutes now. Okay, so actually, I talk about like work-life balance and this stuff. So it boils basically down to this. Like I don't know. I'm not so super excited anymore to work every day on Trailblazer and cells and reform. And it's like I'm like, fuck this shit. You can see there's like months of inactivity. Maybe that's because I was pushing to some branch that is not the main or the master branch. I don't know. But you can see there's huge gaps. Honestly, sometimes it sucks and you have no idea how often I thought, should I just stop and work in a normal job and earn like 120,000 euros a year? Because, I am senior enough, I have almost gray hair soon, and I know how to do with time zones. That's the other requirement you need as a senior developer. So that's kind of like, this is kind of the stuff that goes through my head, not every day, but sometimes when I'm frustrated or something. It's like, and you can definitely tell from my GitHub history. This is the last talk, but I can't give a talk without code because we are developers, Clojure, Rust, Ruby. So we want some code, right? Don't worry. So basically, I'm going to walk you a little bit through how all those gems became Trailblazer, like in a really fast way. Just to warn you, it's not this success story, hey, yeah, I'm rich and driving this fast car and I have 40 people and we do our own service. It's kind of like, it's cool, but that's why the talk is called Almost Sustainable, because it's kind of, it works, but it's not this crazy success story that you take home and you want to be like me. Trailblazer is basically fighting against conservative thoughts. So just an example of how I get there. This is slides I stole from Friendly RB from the talk. Adrian, you already know it. So I started with this, with a gem called cells. And so cells is basically, now we get view components, but spoiler alert. So cells is a gem or a library, used to be a library, to encapsulate parts of your view in a component. Yeah, so like a sidebar or like a navigation header. And so I went to GitHub and I looked when was the first commit, and it was like, fuck, 16 years ago. And that's when it's like 2008. That's like a few months ago, it's 3 years ago. Oh no, it's 16 years ago. That's when you realize you get old. Okay, so Cells is a 16-year-old view component gem to kind of encapsulate parts of your view. The way it worked in Rails, which didn't make me happy, was like you render this partial and you can pass in like locals, and the partial can also, so the partial is like an ERB or a HAML file, and the partial can read also from like weird global variables, and it can use global helpers like avatar4 or something in the ERB. And so the helpers, they are modules, and the modules are automatically distributed all across the view framework. And I was totally not happy with this approach because for me there was a lack of encapsulation. According to the Rails community, because I kept asking 16 years ago, hey, is there any other way? We had like a what did we do? Like a IRC or something was the way to communicate. Everyone told me, no, this is cool. Partials are fine. You don't need encapsulation in the view. Just use helpers. And I really hated that. And so I wanted something like this. Like I render and basically I instantiate an object. I pass everything the object knows into the constructor, and then I render the object here by using call. I was actually too lazy to rename the method when I changed all the slide this morning. I was still drunk. So I wanted an object, render some fragment of HTML, done. And so what we did was we introduced this, this was the start of the gem called Cells. And basically you have a class, and the class maps to that little view component, to the sidebar, to the navigation header that you actually want to program. And the beautiful thing is you could render templates from that object, just like a controller basically. And the template could use helpers that were instance methods on that object. So that was kind of the big change. You didn't have global helpers, you had like instance methods. So you could have 15 avatar4 helpers across the project that wouldn't interfere because it was encapsulated. And you could also render those cells in tests, for example. So it wasn't like magically adding to some content buffer or something. It was like, I render a cell, here is the HTML fragment I just rendered, like the navigation bar or a sidebar or whatever. And you could test those cells. It was kind of like encapsulation by the book, nothing special really. And so we had one company, they actually made a logo for us. I couldn't find it anymore because the internet forgets. I don't know if this is how it works. But the cool thing was DHH liked this, and he emailed me. I was so thrilled. Oh God, I'm going to fall over and break my legs. So he emailed me like, hey, this is great. I love the component approach. We put that in Rails core, and I was kind of like doing Ruby for 2 years. I was super pumped, like the big DHH emailing me, could be a great fit and blah, blah, blah. Of course, it never happened because the action view layer was completely, can I say fuck? Like it was completely fucked, and there was lots of work to be done. And also people started to get wind of this crazy way to model the view layer with objects. And they were like, oh, we don't need that. We have partials. Go away. Some guy like, oh, you're nuts. What's going on with you? On my blog, I used to blog, and then there were like comments. People were going crazy. Oh, something new. It's like objects. That's too much. Like we don't need that. We have MVC. It was really crazy. Interestingly enough, 15 years later, GitHub comes like, hey, we have the exact same idea, exact same approaches, exact same naming, exact same APIs. It's view components. Everyone loves it already. It's kind of like crazy. I mean, I'm happy that there's something, that's me like, I don't know, when I gave my first talk probably. As you can see, I'm drinking coffee. So, I don't know, this is kind of also one of the beautiful examples. Why are open source developers, why can they be frustrated? Yeah, because if you're working on something for 15 years and then GitHub comes, copies it, makes it, of course, a lot better because people get paid to work on that. And suddenly it's the big shit. It's like, wow. Okay, so I'll stop ranting. I did some few other gems after Cells. So Cells was like 2007, 2008, blah, blah, blah. And then I came up with, I don't know, Reform and with Representable. So those are all gems that are completely standalone, and don't worry about the code. Stop looking at the code. This is just like random stuff. So I have this horrible, no, the horrible slide is the next. So I was actually trying to find some photos because I gave a few talks when I was really young, but also all the talks disappeared. I don't know what's going on in the internet. I can't find the logo. I can't find talk videos anymore. Did anything change in Google or something? Because there used to be, you could see all the talks from Confreaks. They're all gone. So no picture of me when I was, I don't know, 12. Here's the most horrible slide I've ever created. I just wanted to give you like a rundown time-wise how all those gems evolved. Like you can see 2007 view layer, then 2011 basically serialization, deserialization, reform, the form gem was 2013, and that was I was actually in Australia at that time. But what is the most important thing is in the beginning, I think till 2012, I was still working as a PHP developer. So that's how I got the money to kind of work on gems. And then luckily, the gems were kind of becoming, I don't want to say popular, but I started to get Ruby gigs because people knew, you did sales. We don't use it, we hate it, but can you please be our, I don't know, junior developer? Okay, so just quickly about the result of all those gems and stuff. So at some point, I decided to kind of focus on business logic because the view layer is fun, forms are fun, deserializing or parsing requests was fun, but I'm really interested in business logic. So what is business logic? You have a controller, you have lots of bullshit code, you have lots of if and else, and people don't know where to put that, and the idea in Trailblazer was, you just move all that code. I'm not sure if it's, yeah. So you move all that code to an object, you kind of invoke that object, and the object will do all the business logic for you. And then you can ask, was the business logic, like validation and saving something to the database, was that successful or not? So that was kind of the idea. So to make it short, move the code from the model, from the controller into a service object. So that's the idea in Trailblazer. Basically, I could stop talking now. And again, you see the same idea, the same with cells. Like you could test your business logic. Suddenly you could test it isolated in a unit test. And it was kind of, because encapsulation is kick-ass, it allows you to run the same code in different environments without running the whole Rails stack. And you can test. People are nodding. They understand. Okay, but the crucial idea was basically, I mean, this is all pseudocode. Move the code into an object because we like encapsulation. People kind of started to like this idea because what we did was basically you have very slim controllers. You have a new class per use case. Yeah, every controller would you had a class for create, you had a class for update, you had a class for index. So that was kind of new. Nowadays everyone does it, and we introduced this new kind of file format. So file structure. So we basically had one operation class. We call this service object operation. We had one operation class per use case, and that was, I don't know, in the beginning, people were kind of freaking out. This is so complex, but other people really liked it. That's when my kind of jet setter career started. I have this. I bought this from Patreon income. I still don't have a pilot, but we can figure that out. So I got invited to lots of conferences. That was like 2000, I don't know, 10, 12, 14. So people who really wanted to hear about this. Like my Slack channel, this is actually Gitter, so we used to use Gitter. Oh, God. Take this away from me. So there were lots of people on the chat and asking stuff. It was really cool because it kind of like picked up momentum. This is me, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago on the right-hand side. So people started using Trailblazer, and they figured out, hey, actually, it's not solving all the problems we have. It's kind of a cool idea, it's nothing special. It's encapsulation by the book, but they instantly started complaining. This is not actually solving all the problems we have. Trailblazer sucks. I'm not going to use it because you don't figure out how to do and then edge case ABC. Really frustrating. But I was being more stupid than ever. I started to write a book about that stuff while we kind of while Trailblazer was still growing up. This is my idea of the cover, and luckily some real illustrator came and we ended up with a beautiful book cover. It's also available as a poster if you want one. I have 58 more of those to send to any countries like this. I started writing a book while I was working on Trailblazer. That was so horrible because I kept changing book content and gem code because it was, I mean, you should not write a book about something that's not finished. I mean, and then we go back to the subline windows later. Actually, the problem was that was Trailblazer 1, so the old version where you just move all the code basically to a class. That was kind of stupid, but the book kind of gave me some revenue. I think in total I made like 30,000 US dollar or something over the years. I don't know. You can see in the beginning is a huge peak because people were excited. Then people figured out, hey, it's not solving all our problems. Fuck off. And yeah, so now I sell like one book per day. Per day, I wish per year probably. So, yeah, so I'm never going to do this. I also started writing a second book. I didn't even put it in the slides because I don't want you to read it. Like, don't start writing a book when I mean, you get some money, but to be honest, the 30,000, or maybe it was less, 20,000 euros or something, is nice, but it's also like over many years and the work. It took me like 2 years to write this book and it was really hard work I don't know. But the good thing was I was invited to lots of conferences. And people really wanted to learn about this, so that was kind of cool. And so was my takeaway. If you want to travel, just write some gems and do some, publications about it. We launched Trailblazer Pro at some point. It was kind of we promised people stuff. You can read it on the left-hand side. It was like $12 per month for freelancers, $29 for teams, and actually. We had like 200 subscribers and we didn't give them anything. So they were like always asking like, where's this new, what was it called? Premium docs, for example. And they were like, yeah, coming. You know, it's back to the subline windows in my, and it's like 2 or 3 companies opted out because they were like, oh, there's no value for us. But everyone else just kept paying. That was cool. I have not found the figures. It was also like 1,000 or 2,000 euros per month for nothing. But yeah, I mean the amount of complaints got more and more because Trailblazer 1 was not really solving the problem we had, the problem of business logic. So what did I do? So you have this messy code here, and I came up with, hey, let's introduce a new API, break all the existing code because you can. So we introduced Trailblazer 2.0, and the 2.0 version basically helped you much better to structure your code here. I mean, you can see step. So you basically. I mean, I'm not going to go into details here. So you still had this operation class, but you had it's not a DSL because it's not creating code. It's a declarative API. This was basically helping you to handle the control flow. So blah, blah, blah. The mental model was this railway that I stole from functional programming. So you have this this is the success path. And this is when something fails, and I want applause. This was Hollywood-style animation. Next thing is Titanic 2 for me. I'm gonna step up the game. Okay, so that was kind of the new thing in Trailblazer 2. Actually, people really like that, and it got me some new users. So we're already like in 2000, I don't know, 15 or something. So we managed to get people back. We lost a lot of people because they figured out Trailblazer is not solving anything. But this kind of change brought some really nice new perspectives because it's also actually pretty cool to write your code like this. A few months ago, I decided to rewrite the website. So I paid like, I don't know, so here's the landing page and here's the we have like animations now and illustrations. I paid like 4,000 euros to a designer, and it was a lot of work, and I had to learn Tailwind. But actually, it was really worth it because so also the documentation is much better. And I mean, there's like nice features in the documentation. I'm just showing you that so you get an idea how much work it is to run a project because this took me like 5 months of my life, and every day I, rewriting the rendering engine, all redrawing all those diagrams, coming up with new examples. I mean, blah blah blah. I could give a talk about the Trailblazer documentation. This is using Cells, but the new version, Cells 5, which is not released. Wait, I'm going to switch to Sublime. I can show you the code. Yeah, so the rendering stack and everything is nothing great, but it was so much work, and I had to learn CSS/Tailwind, which whatever. The cool thing is we have a search on the website. Is it okay if I go a bit over time? Yeah. Oh, because So cheers. We have this Algolia search now, and I can see what people look for. So I get this message every week what people what people search on the website. It's kind of cool. It's like you see every week there's like 60, 80 people searching for something, and it actually makes sense what they search for because all those terms are kind of Trailblazer stuff, which is cool. It shows you, okay, some people are using it. We also have more links, more hits. As you can see, I mean, this is not the website. This is the Ruby Gems downloads. So you can see the Trailblazer is not like super popular. It's a 2,700,000 blah blah blah. So it's not like the latest bleeding edge shit, but it's kind of people. I mean, you can see a clear trend that it goes up. I don't know actually what's going on here. It's probably some hack or something because. Oh, is that okay? So maybe a new pandemic could boost my users. Yeah, but I mean, this is kind of what I wanted to tell you. Like, Trailblazer is not that thing that everyone uses and it has like 5 million downloads. I mean, it will have 5 million downloads at some point, but it's reasonable. We have a lot of users. We have a lot of smart people. So, you want to take a photo? Yeah. At some point, I decided to Bojida, was that you who couldn't pronounce GmbH? Yes. So we kind of founded the Trailblazer GmbHs to give that a professional kind of look. So on the website in the bottom it says like copyright Trailblazer GmbH. I find it pretty badass, but you're not impressed. But then also it's kind of cool to invoice customers with Trailblazer GmbH or whatever. So speaking of customers, so the way I basically make money with Trailblazer is I have a couple of consultants working for me, currently only one, and they help people with legacy projects or by evaluating their existing code and then introducing Trailblazer. And we have a lot of calls. Sometimes we go there and do on-site training or something. Again, not every week, not every month. This is something like I have like 3 to 10 gigs per year, but it's great because it's a good source of money. For consulting, you can ask for a lot of money and people pay it. I don't know why. So yeah, I wanted to show my team, but I didn't find photos. The internet is broken. We are going to introduce actually a paid version, like some product we call like Trailblazer Pro, but this time you actually get value. So the website is still, I mean, I think the website is already online, but it's like filled with bogus and nonsense. We are not sure what to charge. Maybe when I show you what it does, you can tell me. So I talked to the Karafka guy, Maciek Mensfeld, and he told me, dude, just charge them because he makes a lot of money with Karafka. It's a Kafka binding in Ruby. He told me just charge like 5 times more than you think you should. People will still pay it. I'm not so sure about this actually, but he makes quite a good living with Karafka. So I'm kind of looking up to him. Also the same way I look up to Mike Perham, for example. I just wanted to put that there because we had this chat prior to the conference. So okay, like just quickly, what Trailblazer Pro will do is like we have some new diagram thing. This is the backend, also done in Tailwind, by the way. And we have a debugger. I know you don't debug because Chuck Norris, but so a feature we have in Trailblazer is you run an operation using the what the fuck method, and it will print on the command line what path the operation took. That's extremely helpful when you have nesting. And it will also show you when something failed. You remember the animation when the smiley went to the lower track. So you can see that. You can basically see the flow of the operation on the command line. With Trailblazer Pro, blah, 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 you install it. It will basically send that trace to an online debugger. It looks like shit because it's in Tailwind. But we're going to improve that, of course. But you can basically click through your trace online, which is really helpful. You can inspect the state of the operation basically by going from step to step. You can see what changed, where did the model change, where did the current user change, all this kind of stuff. It's pretty cool, actually. And the other feature we bring is we finally introduce state machines that kick ass in Ruby, because I was not happy with Access state machines. So you can visually design long-running processes, not only operations with like steps. You can basically have real state machines. I love how you all stare at this diagram, because people love this, but look at this. You can actually have really complex. We are using BPMN2, business process modeling notation, from Java. That's the visual language, and you can. So let's go back to the easy example, and you can basically model life cycles of objects visually, and then and every box you see could be, for example, can be an operation. Every box could also be something else, just a callable in Ruby. So you don't implement when stuff happens, but what. And yeah, so in this example, basically every box you see is a separate operation. And all you have to do is you draw this, and then you implement the operations or the steps, the boxes, and then you kind of glue those together by saying, hey, the update box in the diagram is actually this and that Ruby callable, which is an operation in this case. So there's no code generated or anything. It's kind of I think we hit the sweet spot between code generation, or with generating from diagrams, and actually implementing what happens. So it's, I don't know, I didn't put lots of examples in here because it's not finished yet, but it's going to be presentable in maybe May or something. But in the end of the day, what Trailblazer does is, again, it takes away control flow from you. You just program what you want to happen and not when. And especially with like huge life cycles and implications, and you can only delete after your blog post got approved. This is for a blog post. Stuff like that. It's really tedious in Ruby to write this. I think it's also tedious in Python or in Rust, but we don't have something to kind of help you with this properly. So I'm really pumped to publish this and get some, probably only the same responses I always get, like, no one needs this, DHH says you should use whatever callbacks. But so yeah, basically what you do is you don't run operations in controller actions anymore. You just tell Trailblazer, hey, I want to delete a blog post, and then the state machine will figure out itself, are we actually in this state to run the delete operation? Here's the example. I mean, this is horrible stuff. I want to show you real code, but that's next time when I'm going to be invited again. So that's kind of the pro stuff we want to ship. Big problem again. So we want to tell people, like, hey, we are doing consulting. We have lots of nice products. We help you with we help with the legacy project if you want our help. But people don't know that we do that, because this is the About Us page written in Tailwind. And so we really have to do something about how we market Trailblazer, which is why I also, again, added one more to-do document where we talk about how to market. I'm not so good, but Adrian is much better at this. I was really impressed by the way Avo works. I also want to get there, even though we've been doing this shit much longer than you. But yeah, to sum up this totally over like this talk that was much too long. I love working on open source. I love coming up with new stuff and making stuff simpler, improving how people write code. But I really have to do something about this. It's really, you go nuts. Is there anyone else in the audience who understands me? Okay, more than I thought. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know really how to do that, but it's not that you just, you should have more people working for you or something. Like, yeah, but how do you find good people? People either work in this 120,000 senior developer job, or they will be maybe, I don't know, too shifty. I had lots of people in the core team, and they come and go. It's a bit like, you see that in Rails core, that people, they're not staying long. And that's the same problem we have. So I had really brilliant people helping me. But then, oh yeah, I have a kid, or oh, I work for this new company and we're not using Ruby anymore. Blah, there goes the band. So yeah, and in the end of the day, you're the one who has to fix everything. So I'm not sure. Did we decide where to go, Canal or Vitamin B? So there's nothing planned. I mean, if you want to stay in touch with me, don't use Mastodon. I open it once a week. You can send me an SMS. And oh, by the way, thank you. You are an awesome audience.